Freedom is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
I want to get the language right.
The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
This is Anti-Media Radio, and I am your host, S.M. Gibson. It is April the 21st. Are you sick of being lied to by the media over and over and over? Are you sick of being lied to by the politicians over and over and over? Everybody wants to try to decipher and figure out what's true and what's not true, and then at the same time, so many of the average American out there will sit there and tell you, I don't believe anything politicians tell me. I don't believe anything the media tells me. And then they'll point to this story that, that comes out today or yesterday, whatever the story is. Well, I believe that. And they believe these narratives that come out. They believe this mainstream rhetoric that's put forth by the corporate government, which is basically what it is, and the oligarchy that we live in. And they believe these stories, but at the same time, they'll tell you they don't believe anything these people say. And that's the battle we're in. Is we're dealing in this 1984 kind of idiocracy Mike Judge world. And we need to get the truth out there to people as much as we possibly can. Going to start off with the facts of the week so far. We have had 352 Americans killed by police officers since January 1st, 2015. 352 Americans killed by cops this year alone. The reverse stat of that is 37 police officers have died in the line of duty. 10 of those being attributed to heart attack. 6 of them were from gunfire, 6 of them. 2 were from illness, 11 were from an automobile accident. So that's 352 to 37, 10 of those being a heart attack, 11 being automobile accidents. Those stats just don't add up to me. And that's sadly where we're living at. And let's look at foreign policy. Saudi Arabia, the great ally of the United States, 63 people they have beheaded since the beginning of the year. 63 people they've beheaded. And yet we wage wars on countries because they behead people. But when it's Saudi Arabia, no one cares. Also, the gun law capital of the country, Chicago, has had 112 homicides all the way up from January the 1st until April the 21st, 112 homicides, and 506 people have been shot and wounded in Chicago. So gun control laws obviously aren't working that well either. I don't understand why they cannot believe the truth of what's going on out there, that everything is an illusion. You have been lied to so much. We have all been trained to be lied to that it's okay. As long as everybody has, their cable TV and whatever, whether it's The Walking Dead or The Kardashians or The Big Bang Theory, whatever show it is out there that you enjoy watching, as long as people have that, then people, they seem like they're okay. These bigger issues, it doesn't seem like if it doesn't affect them, then they're not very concerned about it. But these issues are going to affect everyone at some point. They've so already started affecting everyone. These police shootings that go on in this country, so many people roll their eyes and they act like it's not a big deal. But when it happens to somebody in your family, you're going to look at it completely differently. It happened with the Iraq War. There were so many people that were, for the Iraq War, and we're going to go get the terrorists. The terrorists are coming to get us, 9/11, 9/11. And even though there was, no connection between Iraq and 9/11, we were still gung-ho because they just kept saying WMDs over and over and over and over. And well, it turns out that, we had no business being over there. Big shock. And those people that had their sons and daughters come back in caskets with flags draped over them realized that this was ridiculous and that this foreign policy was insane. And luckily, there were a few people that, came back that weren't in caskets. People like Adam Kokesh that came back and saw it for what it was. People that I'm friends with that were over there stationed multiple times in multiple cities all throughout Iraq and the Middle East came back and said, wow, what were we even over there for? So it's the bigger picture is people don't feel like they're being necessarily lied to, and if they are being lied to, well, it doesn't affect my everyday life. But it's when it affects your everyday life, people change. It's on us, it's on you, it's on me, it's on all of us to accept that we have to take responsibility for the things that are going on in the world now. Otherwise, they're not going to change. And it will be on our doorstep one day. In one way, shape, or form, it's going to be on our doorstep. We have to understand what the truth is. We have to understand that corporations and the government are running the show. The military-industrial complex is running the show. There has been nothing but brainwashed cities going on. You've got MSNBC talking about will test tube hamburgers save the world, and Hannity's talking about whatever he's talking about tonight. Dr. Oz was on CNN. I mean, they're just talking about all these irrelevant issues. Hannity's been talking about spring break for the past 2 weeks. They're all talking about these irrelevant issues on the mainstream media, and yet we are sitting here having to deal with reality, the real world. I don't understand how these people that are supposedly responsible for in the media, it's the division of keeping you divided. You get one channel telling you one thing and another channel telling you another thing, but neither channel is telling you the truth, whichever channel you subscribe to. And that's what anti-media is about. That's what so many other people out there are doing. Free Thought Project, Luke Rakowski with We Are Change. Just so many people are out there trying to get the truth out. And we're the ones that, kind of come across as fringe or this or that. And in reality, the truth shouldn't be fringe. And do we get everything perfect every time? No, we don't. But the difference is I can take, especially for the anti-media, is we research what we put out there. And we do everything we can to make sure that we're putting the truth out there, and we try to hit on topics that the mainstream media is afraid to cover. Has anybody in the mainstream media since the beginning of the year told you that 352 Americans have been killed by cops this year? 352, and 37 cops have been killed in the line of duty, or should I say died in the line of duty, going back to the heart attack stat and the car wreck stat. They just, shove things down your throat. Hanny was talking earlier about, well, you've got the right to shoot somebody. You've got the right to shoot. You've got the right to shoot. It's just insane. Like he's all about the force of killing people, and he brags about it. Well, you legally can do that. You legally can do it. Like, to him, as long as it fits in this certain parameter of law, it's okay to kill somebody. That's nuts. It's just absolutely insane that this one parameter of law, it's okay to kill people, but if it's a law he doesn't like, well, that's unconstitutional. I'm pretty sure death, unless in extreme cases of self-defense, is not constitutional either. Actually, these cases. Look at Freddie Gray. If everybody hasn't heard of Freddie Gray, it is a young man that was shot and killed in Baltimore. Well, I take that back. It wasn't a shot and killed. I just kind of got ahead of myself. It was kind of a different circumstance, and they're really protesting up there in Baltimore right now. I'm just so used to saying shot and killed, sadly. So what had happened is this young man stared at police officers, gave them, a dirty look, and he was arrested, but nobody really knows what he was arrested on. He made eye contact with some cops on April the 12th, and it was in an area, known for drug activity, and, I'm sure it was socio-economic, a poor community. And, they sold drugs in this community. Well, he looked at the cops. And so they detained him and put him in a police van. At some point, and nobody really knows the details of much after this, he suffered a spinal cord injury. And according to his lawyer, 80% of his spine had been severed at his neck. And that is while he was in the back of the police van. In the back of the police van. So something happened between the time he was arrested or detained for absolutely no reason. And he turns around and his neck was snapped. His spinal cord was snapped. On April the 19th, the 25-year-old young man, he passed away. And they're just raising hell in Baltimore right now, as they should be. There's been no answers given. We don't know anything that's really going on. We do know that 6 different officers have been placed on, they've been suspended with pay. So what does that mean? They get a free vacation. As usual. The statement in the police report was during transport to Western District via wagon transport, the defendant suffered a medical emergency and was immediately transported to shock trauma. So he's in the back of a van, and then his spinal cord snaps. Wow. How in the world does this continue to happen? Like, how is this still happening? It's just insane that we're still dealing with these unnecessary killings in this country. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense that we're still dealing with these unnecessary deaths. A man's spinal cord, while in custody, was snapped. And we've got 6 guys on a paid vacation. I'm going to go ahead and bring into the conversation our wonderful producer, Shannon Madden. How you doing tonight, Shannon?
Absolutely wonderful. How are you?
Oh, man, I can't complain about my daily life, but it's all the stuff that's going on around me, which affects us all. We're all part of the same community. We're all part of the same human experience. And we're all interconnected with something that we can't see, And you hear about these stories, and it just makes you sick.
And let's go ahead while we're on this subject, and let's go ahead and call these vicious people out by name. Lieutenant Brian Rice, Sergeant Alicia White, Officer William Porter, Officer Garnett Miller, Officer Edward Nero, and Officer Caesar Goodson.
Yeah.
Paid vacation, every single one of them, chilling, sitting at the house, collecting a check, waiting for the wheels of justice to slowly turn, ultimately in their favor.
And here's the thing, and there's so many people out there, and I'm sure, and I know how human nature goes, and I understand it, that they're going to say, well, the police aren't there to hurt any innocent people, and there were 6 of them involved, so they couldn't have been, he had to have done something wrong. And so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know this doesn't make sense, but I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. And people just, they're so brainwashed in this mentality. Like, they just keep thinking, there can't be anything wrong. There can't be anything wrong. How can this be happening? How? They're wearing a uniform. They have a badge. This can't be possibly happening. And people make these excuses for these people. And that's what it is, people. You want to, be offended at what it's being called, but it's just people. An officer or this or that. Forget these worldly titles that you give people. Forget it. It's just a person. It's just some people that kill some people. And it's crazy. I mean, when you have a guy's neck being snapped, do you think the people that were in the vicinity of when that happened should get a free paid vacation? A free paid vacation should come when you do something good, not when you kill somebody. The lawyer said that, they've made concessions on lack of probable cause, but running while black is not probable cause. A felony doesn't exist for running. A felony doesn't exist for running. Did he run from the police after he saw him? Yes, he did. Is it illegal to run? Nope, it's not. If it was illegal to run, then Usain Bolt would be in prison right now. But he's not. It's not illegal to run. So, Shannon, what do you take away from all this? I mean, where do we go? It just seems like it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Well, it absolutely is. It's a show of dominance and power. I don't know if you saw this the other day. We didn't get a chance to talk about this. I won't go too far into it. The news story about the woman who was filming the police out in California. This was very recently, within the past several days. And again, the police. One of them has a AR-15, an assault rifle, out, and is conducting police business, and she pulls her phone out and just takes a video. The police officer charges her with this AR-15 in his hands, pointed in her direction, runs toward her, grabs her property, her phone, and smashes it and kicks it and tears it into a bunch of pieces. Now, again, we would never know about this. Luckily, someone was across the street who happened to whip their phone out and recorded that interaction. But, the cops have gotten so brazen with it now. And we were talking about this earlier, the people that have put the police in the position that they're at, because this yet is, again, another distraction, another roadblock that we have to kind of have to cross over to be able to deal with the absolute bigger issues that we talk about on this show and on antimedia.org all the time, with the situation that's happening over in the Middle East and, the aggressive campaign of terror that is now, even America isn't cashing in on that. Apparently there's a lot of other countries that suddenly realize that, hey, the Americans made a lot of, they were able to make a lot of money off that deal. We should be able to do the same thing too, and give it catchy names and catchy catchphrases, and be able to pretty much, well, of course, I know I'm jumping ahead. We're going to get to that here in a little bit, but that's why this yet again is another distraction, and it's a pretty violent distraction, I might add, to know that you might get pulled over for a busted taillight and possibly die. I mean, that's why you. Look, and I'm not saying that everybody that runs from the police is, doing so for innocent purposes. There are some pretty bad people that run from the police that it is a comfort and a joy to have the police in the position that we as citizens pay them to do. Conduct, and get those, those violent and seedy elements off the streets. I mean, that's what we pay them to do.
And you're right. But here's the problem: is there's violent and seedy elements inside of the community, and there's violent and seedy elements inside the police force. It's human nature. There's good people on both sides. There's bad people on both sides. And people want to exclude one side of that just because they took a test and they have a shiny little pin on. And we have to judge humans as humans and say that was a violent action, and we don't need that in our community anymore. And it doesn't matter
Absolutely.
And whatever side it's on, that is something that is taking away from the community and from the people, and it's hurting the children. That's what it's turned out to be, is, basically 30 and under, young men, young women that are suffering from this. And, they're being stereotyped in one way, shape, or form, or you got some arrogant cop, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
And let me go ahead and dive a little bit deeper, too. It's also putting the lives and personal safety, jeopardizing the other police officers that are not engaging in this type of behavior, that are effective police officers, that are enforcing the law.
It makes them look terrible. It makes them look terrible.
And not only that, but also then we have these situations coming up. We have a protest brewing right now in Baltimore over this. I mean, it's getting pretty hot up there right now, just like it was with Ferguson. But again, it's just not hot enough. And look, I understand and appreciate and know full well what's behind the Black Lives Matter movement. But this isn't just a white and black issue. That's just another distraction to keep us all from banding together and figuring out and rooting out this evil.
Well, that's exactly what it is. And I've said it before on the show, and I was speaking to people in Philadelphia about it too. And I do understand the hashtag of Black Lives Matter. I do get it, and I get the percentages are just insane of young black men.
It's sick. It is absolutely sick.
But for me,
African American males they're in open season right now.
Oh,
they really are.
It's
horrible.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But I still stand by the fact that I hate viewing it as, and that's how we get in these corners we get in, is because it's viewed as black and white and this and that. Is we all have to come together. We're all, like we talk about race. We're all part of the human race. Sorry.
Absolutely.
We're all here together in the human race. And I don't care what color your skin is. We should all be able to acknowledge right and wrong. And when a member of the human race, when a member of our race is hurt by someone else, we should be able to come together and deal with that. Everybody wants to have these certain divisions. And it really, I get it because of the percentages, but at the same time, we have to remember we're all here together. There's 85 people that are the richest people on the planet. These 85 people have as much money as the next 3.5 billion people on the planet. 85 to 3.5 billion. So, do you think these people genuinely care about skin color or where you're from or where you grew up? They don't care. All they see is they have power and they have money. And they want to keep everybody at the bottom fighting amongst themselves while they keep running the show. And
with that statement right there, yes, that is in the back of the ruling regime's mind. Will always be in the back of their mind, and because it is a tool of distraction that they thrust upon all of the other, the common folk among us, all of those other little piddly 3.8 billion people that walk the face of the earth. This is just another little distraction to keep them busy, to keep them occupied from actually banding together and fighting, not because I don't really care how much money somebody has. I really don't. That's somebody's own personal choice. If you want to have $4 billion, bully for you. That's awesome. But at the same time, though, it doesn't behoove you to hoard all of that money and not at least put it in the community. And what we've seen is we see it put back in the community, little pockets and little special interests, and and it gets filtered down in a certain way to where there's all these little cliques and groups and so on and so forth, until it gets down to bottom middle America, where we both sit, trying to make sure that we got enough left in the bank account to go to the grocery store at the end of the week, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. But we can't ask the bigger questions when we're worried about our safety and our life when we just got pulled over for a broken tail light.
Right. And
I don't care what color you are. That struggle is it knows no limit as far as sex. It knows no limit as far as race. It knows no limit as far as age. There are people from 16 all the way up into their mid 80s that are just getting the living crap beat out of them by the police daily by the droves. What
happened here in Alabama not too long ago up towards Huntsville when the Indian fella got the crap beat out of him by the cops?
Man, that's absolutely sickening. That is a sin. And anybody that's listening, please go back and take a quick look at that story. You can find it on AL.com.
We had it on antimedia.org. I think Carrie Welder, one of our fantastic journalists, I think she wrote it up as well.
Absolutely. And just absolutely, man's just walking around outside of the house that his son owns in this uber white, super conservative neighborhood where everybody's driving the SUVs and so on and so forth, and just happens to be walking around getting some fresh air. He's visiting his son. The police pulled up. There's somebody saw a person of color walking around outside and wanted to know why a person of color was walking around outside. And the police come up. They question him. His English isn't very good because he's a native of India. And because there's a language problem. The police weren't having any of that. They just went ahead and just beat the living crap out of him, put him in the hospital.
Well, yeah, that is what it is. I tell you what, for everybody, for the story we're just talking about, I urge you to go to Twitter. I urge you to search hashtag Freddie Gray to keep up with the situation that's going on in Baltimore right now, because that is, it's turned out social media is the place that you're getting the true voice of the people. So go hashtag Freddie Gray and see exactly what's going on in Baltimore. Kind of on the same deal with the cops, the Supreme Court had a ruling today that said that you can't detain someone at a stop, what you were talking about, Shannon, about how people get stopped for taillights and this and that, and you can't just pull them over for kind of whatever and then be like, oh, well, we're going to hold you here. We're going to bring out the drug dogs in this entire situation. It was Denise Rodriguez, I believe, and they said that the cops are not allowed to violate the Fourth Amendment and, wait on drug dogs or wait on this or wait to hold you on this.
Wait a minute. You mean all along the cops weren't supposed to be violating our Fourth Amendment rights?
Right. And here's a situation about this. Like, we were talking about it a little bit earlier today, and, you view it as this big victory, and on paper, you're 100% right. It is a big victory. The problem is, first off, it should have never even been debated to begin with. Like, it shouldn't even been an issue. Why does this have to go to the Supreme Court? It should be common sense. But second off, I'm sure if we took a lot of these murders, like killing people, to the Supreme Court, yeah, they'd say that was wrong too. There's a difference between what's written down on paper and practice. And on paper, it is a victory. It absolutely is. And we'll have to wait and kind of see in the future how it's interpreted through the law. But we talked about it earlier. Like, how did you tell me how you came away with the verdict today?
Well, okay, let's go ahead and let's rewind this for half a second. I'll tell you where the confusion came in. The confusion came in the confusion that ultimately led it back to the Supreme Court to be discussed and ruled upon was that big, giant, huge, big stack of paper they released in the early 2000s. What's it called again? Oh, man, I forget. The Patriot Act. Yeah, the language of the Patriot Act gave police, who are also emergency responders, your first responders, and there's a lot of language that includes the police's involvement in the Patriot Act as far as how they can conduct searches, how they can conduct surveillance, no-knock warrants. We've talked about that before, things like that. And that's where this big debate has come in, because the Patriot Act, it all effectively, just chopped off a bunch of amendments all in one bill that was wholeheartedly passed by Congress, if we all remember correctly.
Well, I hate to be crude, but it bent over the Constitution right there in front of the Capitol, and Americans were none the wiser because they were so terrified of these terrible Muslims coming to take our freedom. Well, I know Iraq didn't have nothing to do with 9/11, but they got dark skin. Let's go back. And that's what happened. And that's how they passed this through. And it's absolutely insane that people allowed this to happen, but they did. And,
oh, yeah.
And it's about to re-up again. And we need to put pressure on our congressmen the way we did against Syria 2 years ago. And we need to, express this to the people in Washington. If you vote for this, you're not going to get elected again. And as crazy as it sounds, as much as we talk about the people don't have the power, if the masses call their representatives and you scare them in the fact they're not going to get reelected, they'll do what you want. But it takes all of this coming together. It's not just going to be 5 calls here and 5 calls there. It has to be swarmed. And at this point, Americans should be able to come together and say, okay, yeah, the Patriot Act has to go.
Well, the Patriot Act gave the government so much power. Who that works within the government in their right mind would want to relinquish any kind of power? I mean, that's really what it's at play here.
You're right.
It's about power and control.
You're absolutely right, but you've got to remember, a lot of these, especially people in the House of Representatives, a lot of them are temporary employees, and I know they're all supposed to be temporary employees, but when you get, people in office for 30 or 40 years, that's not exactly temporary.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another subject. That's a whole other show. We can do a whole entire show about that one particular subject right there.
But, and people are just so star-spangled blind and so brainwashed. It's absolutely insane. Like I was watching the Martin Luther King speech earlier to the mountaintop, right? And I just got so fired up. Like, this is what the United States was at some point. There was people that believed in these situations. You believed in people. We can come together. This man, it very much appeared that something was going to happen to him. And yet, it's just all fallen away. It's all dissipated. It's all gone away. We have none of that anymore. And it's all this ideal of Duck Dynasty. And we salute the flag and we go to baseball games. But we've lost our core essence. The Michelle Manhart, the Air Force veteran, Michelle Manhart, okay? I don't know if everybody's heard about this story. She came and ripped a flag out from somebody and resisted police. Basically the same thing as Michael Brown did. She quote unquote stole something of minimal value, resisted the police. She didn't get gunned down in the streets. She was taken away. Fox News has her on TV praising her like a hero because she was defending the flag. She was defending the flag. What nobody wants to mention, too, which is weird because she's so about the flag, but she doesn't mention that she posed nude with the flag. And when she posed nude with the flag, It was just all in the ground. It was disrespecting all the exact same things that she claimed to hold up to. So, but when it benefited her and it made her look cool, she was fine with that. And it's just this brainwashing and selfishness. And who cares about a flag? Personally, I don't care.
A flag is it's a piece of cloth.
Right.
And look, I understand people get wrapped up in what the flag represents and
I get
all
that.
of the wonderful. I totally get that, but at the same time, I don't know. I've never really been one for all of these symbols. The flag and what America truly represents is the hard work that people put in to making their America a better place. That's what America is to me.
But the thing
And
that's so sickening,
there's no piece of cloth, there's no piece of paper, there's nothing tangible that I can tie to that right there. That right there is it's something you can't put any kind of a flag on. You just can't put a flag on that. You really can't.
But listen, there's a portion of the hold on, let me say this real quick. There's a portion of the population of this country that gets so pissed off about somebody burning a flag, but when there's a dead child in the street, they don't care and they make excuses over it. So they are more defensive over a flag than a human being, and I think that's sickening. And I think that's the culture that we're in right now, and people have been brainwashed to believe these things. And people need to wake up and they need to understand that we get it. This piece of cloth represents this certain thing, that that's a human being in the street, and you want to make excuses for them being dead. You need to wake up and realize you're part of the human race, and we're all here together. And if you do not get over yourself, we're all going to implode on each other. They still have this insane idea that this is the greatest country in the world. Well, guess what? That went out the window a long time ago. Okay? These people are living on history. They're living on fairy tales. We're living in a reality. We're living here, and people don't want to hear it. People don't want to hear the truth. And when you tell it to them, they call you crazy because they're so delusional, and they've got their heads stuck in the sand so far. It's insane. Manny, how you doing tonight?
Oh, my God. You got me fired up, FM. I'm ready to have you come and do that up here at the border, dude. We need another civil rights movement. I'm serious. My favorite speech of all time is Martin Luther King, 1968. I mean, that just fires me up, And we need more of that, And I'm setting a good example by that. I honor no flag, no religion. I report to the GOD directly, no middle person, stuff like that. I don't wear no type of jewelry, anything, no cross, no nothing. You know what I mean? Stuff like, and that's it. But I do it because I'm an activist. I don't vote either. I don't belong to no party. I belong to no organization and stuff like that. So I want to do the values of Dr. Martin Luther King and stuff like that. And one of the things you can say about people being, they can't handle the truth, like that movie and A Few Good Men, when he told them you can't. And I've been telling Nick on the radio show, the problem with this country, too, is they're over-medicated. People are over-medicated here on pharmaceutical stuff. If they're depressed...
Oh, man, big time.
Yeah, big time, Sean. You know that. If they're depressed, take a pill. If they're not happy, take a pill. If they're bored, take a pill. Take a pill for everything, and it's crazy and stuff like that. And on the flying thing, you're right. I mean, people are more. I mean, that's where FM. I feel you, brother, because I mean, here they're more mad about you burning the flag, but somebody just got shot in the back 8 times. It's like, and people that see the video still can't believe it, or at least not admit that it's there. So it's crazy.
Right, and I tell you what, I don't have a problem with somebody respecting the flag. I don't have a problem with somebody respecting what the flag represents because, people have different values and different beliefs, and that's fine. But when you put that image and that basically you're idolizing something, when you put that above another human being, I think that's disgusting. When you think that a piece of cloth, and you say, well, it represents all these people that died throughout the years, these same people, go up to them and ask them, when was the last war that all these people died for this cloth? all those people. When was the last war that was legitimate? World War II. I think we can all kind of agree that World War II, that was something that needed to be interjected. Since then, what has the United States been involved in? You know how many soldiers have died since World War II? Quite a few. And guess what? We had no business being involved in any of those conflicts. Vietnam, how'd that work out? Thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people died in Vietnam. It didn't even matter. It didn't even matter. The outcome was still the same. Iraq doesn't matter. Afghanistan doesn't matter. Not to mention the South American countries and all these, Bosnia and Somalia and all these random places we're in, and sons and daughters of families here in America. We say we want to protect Americans. Well, they're dying in these stupid conflicts. And you say, well, they're protecting the flag. Who cares about protecting the flag? They're not keeping us free. They're keeping somebody's corporate ideology continue. They're allowing that to continue. They're allowing someone else to continue to make money. That has nothing to do with our freedoms. Our freedoms are stripped from us so those people continue to make money. That's what the Patriot Act was about. It's just insane. I digress. One of y'all jump in.
Manny, actually, I'm kind of curious. The last time we spoke, you had mentioned something about the United States moving a lot of equipment down south. Have you heard any more about that?
Just a little bit. Basically, they got to the different locations, different military posts, and that's about it. And stuff like that, But it all basically came down to, basically that they believe that this government just helps the other government so they can keep the people oppressed on that side. They don't want no conflict to get out of hand in Mexico because they're too close to the border and stuff like that. So it's kind of sad, And today we were listening to the video of that candidate that was shot down in Tijuana because he really wanted to change the country. He was telling basically his own party, you got to stop being corrupted. The government's got to be stopped corrupted. And his name was, Luis de Nocio, and he got shot down in Tijuana, and I can't believe it's been all these years since he got shot down, anybody that wants to get rid of corruption in Mexico is not going to live the power, And I just wish that he would, because he was ready to get elected. The people were ready to elect him, and, I just wish he would have waited till he got elected, and that's it. But an honest man was an honest man, like he said. He was a man of integrity, like his father and uncle, and he said he wanted to be the same, and he wanted to really make changes in Mexico. And it's kind of sad. A politician that really goes in there and wants to do something, that he's not just talking about it, he really wants to do it, and starts saying that corruption is not a good thing for the country, and then it gets shut down, that just tells us that not this country or that country want real peace. They really don't. It's just sad.
No, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. And
well, Sam, I got to ask you a question real quick. If something like this happened in modern day America, we have let's say we both are Ron Paul fans. Let's say that Ron had run for president and actually was given a very serious shot to actually take care of all of the corruption. And, of course, he doesn't have all the answers, but he's probably been one of the more level-headed, serious candidates we've had in a while as far as where America's really at. The people that are not going to the voting polls that realize that there is, with the current rigged two-party system that we have, there's just absolutely no way that it's something like that is going to go through. Imagine if Ron Paul gets assassinated. Can you imagine how large of a news story that would be here?
It would be.
That would be everywhere.
Well, I actually thought about that because, I know what Ron Paul was saying, and I know how dangerous it was to the establishment. And unfortunately, we do live in a reality where candidates, a lot of times I think they realize that physical death is very dirty and there's a lot to clean up, so they go after people politically. But I don't think there was an avenue to do that with Ron. So I do think if he would have actually challenged what was happening in Washington and actually had a real shot of being elected, I think they would have had to go that way with him, as crazy as that sounds. But I think...
Well, we've never done that here in America before.
Exactly,
so, I mean,
exactly. And they did kind of get him political. They talked about, they basically just said he's crazy, whatever, and kind of wrote him off. But I do think the hypocrisy would have come in when these same people that just destroyed him and said he was this and said he was that or whatever, Ron Paul, let's just say he was on the verge of being elected and he was shot and assassinated and killed, these same media outlets would have turned him into a deity of freedom. Immediately.
Absolutely.
Immediately. And everything that his supporters said about him that is just, some honest guy that wants to, things should be like this, let's just break it down. All those people that were detractors of him and talked bad about him, whether it was Fox News, which they did, Glenn Beck, which he did, MSNBC, which they did, CNN, everybody. All those people would have come out and acted like he was the savior of this country. And they would have put him on this pedestal, and then they would have pushed some corporate stooge up behind him, up under his name, and things would have continued the exact same. And that's kind of what I'm afraid is about to happen in the 2016 election, honestly. You've got Rand, and he's kind of here and there and everywhere on some topics, but at the end of the day, he is his father's son, and I think for the establishment, I think they're going to be uneasy electing this person. I don't think they're ever going to allow it. I think maybe if you've got like a Scott Walker from Wisconsin or a Rubio or somebody that can claim to present these Ron Paul ideals, but you're, in the back of their mind, they've already been bought and paid for. But we can promote them as being a Rand Paul type because it's Ron Paul's son. But when they get in office, they're going to be, another Bush. Or we could all vote for Waka Flocka Flame, who announced...
I was hoping and praying you were going to bring that up. Oh, yeah, baby.
Who announced his candidacy for president yesterday on 4/20, even though that he's 28 years old and you have to be 35 to run for president.
Oh, come on, man. That's, technicalities. Don't worry about all that. He did with no hands. You heard that song. We all bounce with that at the club. Come on now.
He is, but it's him. The whole thing it so kind of shines a light on the bigger picture of everything that's going on for two levels. First, it shows what such theater it is and what a reality show that we're living in with the political system. And then, two, you brought up the point earlier, Shannon. What if we get a real candidate? Like, forget, this guy, but even the fact people are intrigued in this. What if you get a real candidate with real substance and real political issues, not some guy that's like trying to ban people with size 13 feet, but somebody that really cares and is really intelligent and enters into the race? Like, could they win? Even as a third party, we've seen it in this country. Jason Ventura was a third party in Minnesota, was a celebrity. He became governor. Ronald Reagan was a celebrity. Arnold Schwarzenegger was a celebrity. I think you made a valid point earlier before we were on the radio that is this an option? And do we even have that option in the United States?
Well, it's an option, but at the same time, and I guess it kind of all ties in with what we were all talking about, how messed up would the current establishment, the current two-party establishment be if you actually did have, let's say, a celebrity, someone who's pretty well informed, already has a really good crowd. Let's say somebody like Stephen Colbert or somebody like Louis Black or Penn Jillette or somebody like that. Has a pretty good solid foundation, is known as actually being a very, intelligent, well-informed person. Well, hey, maybe I'm seeing, the current two-party system, boring and bland. Well, I can get this guy. Because essentially the role of the United States president is a TV personality anyways. See our current administration.
You said it. And here's what the two-party system buys you: name recognition. Somebody that's famous already has it.
Yep. So you have a situation like that would come and challenge the status quo. Can you imagine how much that would shake the foundation? Because how many people are voting now in the presidential election?
Well, a lot came out in 2008 to elect Obama, but he sold out people pretty fast. I'm still waiting on Guantanamo.
Oh, is this still open?
With Obama, we can say he sold out, but then I kind of look at the other picture, and I'm not saying that basically I'm supporting Obama by saying it. I'm also saying that a good guy can walk up to the most honest guy, just like this guy that got shot down in Tijuana. He gets up there, and basically we're going to see the same thing happen to him. Like the most honest president I've ever seen in this country has been happens to be the only Catholic to this date. To this date, you saw what happened. They said we can't have none of this shit. We're going to shoot him down, and his brother was the same way. So,
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, you know that. I mean, think about it. I mean, hey, we can't have. They're going against the status quo. I mean, the Kennedys were going against the status quo. So we can't have this, and both of them are gone. Stuff like that. And then I just want to mention also one guy that ran for city council that they did a movie on him. Sean Penn played him. What's his first name? His last name?
Harvey Milk.
Harvey Milk. Thank you. You see what happened to him. That's what I'm saying. People that go against the status quo, the system will eliminate him. That's what I'm saying to you guys. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. But you get somebody, and let's just hypothetically say Obama had honest intentions. I never personally believed he did, but he was running against McCain. So I didn't vote in that election. I've never voted in the election, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, and that's what I was getting at earlier was the fact that that's why some star-powered third candidate comes up. How many people are not voting right now? I know we had a lot of people came out in the last election, but there's still a lot more Americans that are choosing to stay home instead of go to the polls. And you actually get somebody like that come out.
Politics is about name recognition. I'm telling you. And there's a few like Clint Eastwood is like, I think he's probably more along the lines of just a Bush type, just this crazy, I'd go bomb people. That guy could walk up and get 95% of the Republican vote just because he's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, he's like 81 now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what he believes in. It doesn't matter, any of that. And we're not talking about him, whatever he is. It doesn't matter. He has the name recognition that $1 billion that bought Obama in 2008 and the $1 billion that bought Romney in 2012, they've got it. They don't need any money. That's how Ventura won in Minnesota. He was an independent. He beat a Republican and a Democrat because everybody already knew who he was. And that's what that money buys you.
But at the same time, Jesse Ventura did make good use of the time that he was there.
He did, and now a lot of people, just like Ron Paul, except even more so with Ventura, but they think he's just a nut job.
And I think Ventura would make an awesome presidential candidate, but I don't think I know he's smart enough not to take the job.
I think it would be interesting. I mean, I would definitely entertain.
Oh, definitely. I would definitely entertain the idea. I mean, Now,
would I get out there and, be his biggest supporter? I don't know. But I definitely think it'd be an interesting candidate, and I think he would at least be coming with honest intentions. Whether, I agree with those intentions, I don't know. But, I think it'd be interesting. I don't think he'll ever do it. But you got somebody like Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson just did it. I don't, I think Gary Johnson was honest, but the Libertarian Party's just completely whacked out, too, because they live in this sheltered world of it has to be our way or no way, and there's no concessions. And I think that's kind of why you got some of the Amoshes and Ron Pauls and Thomas Massey's that have kind of interjected into the Republican Party and kind of started to overthrow it a little bit, but we'll see how long that lasts too, because, I think for every Justin Amash and Thomas Massey, there's 10 other people to shut them up. So I don't know what the answer is. Do you invade another party? Do you have your own party? I don't know. I think the answer is community, but nobody wants to hear that.
Well, why does it even have to be about party to begin with? I mean, again, we were talking, we kind of opened this discussion about divisions, and that yet Republican and Democrat, that's yet another division. It's another distraction.
Oh, it absolutely is. And of course, in the perfect world, that those things shouldn't exist, and we should just judge somebody based on what they're telling us, and it doesn't have to do with, the elephant or the donkey next to their name. But we have to find a way at this point, like there's two ways of looking at it. Let's go all community, which is the wonderful ideal world we wish we lived in, and there's how do we start digging ourselves out of this hole we're in, little by little? And, maybe it is superseding the parties, but you have to recognize the reality in front of you and overcome those obstacles, even though they're ridiculous.
Well, like we said in an election one time when nobody liked either of the candidates, I just tell people vote for Pedro.
I watched that maybe the other day. One of my favorites.
Pedro's not going to steer you wrong. Napoleon may have steered some people wrong at one point, but... So, gentlemen, if you had to go out there and tell people what to do for the upcoming presidential election, what would you tell them? Shannon, you go first. Real quick.
What would I tell people to do as far as which way they should vote?
No, I'm not saying which way they should vote. I'm just saying, should they even vote? Should they even bother? And if they not vote, what should they do?
Well, Waka Flocka Flame looks like a pretty good write-in right now.
He's not going to be a write-in. He somehow signed some papers even though he's not legal. So, Manny.
I know. It's probably rolling papers.
I guarantee it was.
Well, I would just tell people to walk up to the ballot and put nobody on it. That's what I would tell them right now.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful statement. Like, what if all these apathetic voters that are just so sick of the party system did go out and vote, and they did just write nothing in a third-party slot? I think that'd be a pretty incredible statement. At the same time, we do have to realize the technology we're living in. Like, I can't ever have a solution in my head. That's just me. Like, my mind always goes 10 different places, and I hear that, and I just hear, well, I know what Diebold's doing, and I know that they're rigging elections through the system, and you can literally just write down Mickey Mouse, and they're going to give your vote to the guy they want to give it to. So...
Well, and also, too, what will probably happen, and now that we're actually kind of given the recipe for success, is probably George H.W. Bush will go ahead and run for a second term, and that's right after he changes his name to Nobody. So when Nobody wins, it'll be George Herbert Walker Bush. He'll jump out of a plane to celebrate, I'm sure.
He will. Thank you so much, Manny. Thank you so much, Shannon. We'll be back on Thursday. Nick will be here tomorrow night. Anti-Media Radio out. Peace.
Good night, Shannon.
Night.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.